All right, so like I said, today we're going to talk about pretty much how to incorporate fun into our local programs. And it can be a pretty cumbersome balancing act sometimes because we have responsibilities as master gardeners to be earning hours, those service hours and teaching hours. So we have to make sure that we're collecting those hours, but also
they're probably together.
Having a little bit of fun. I'm getting distracted because I'm hearing people. So can everybody just take a moment and mute yourselves really quick? Okay, I think we're good. All right, so anyway, when we talk about volunteering at the local level or at the state level, and even some of us at the national level, you know, why are we all here today? Why are we all logged on to learn about incorporating fun into our Master Gardener program? A lot of people volunteer for many different reasons. Just some statistics from various sources. It can make us happier. We have the opportunity to be more social and meet new people. It helps us boost our individual creativity as well as some of our small group creativity when we're working on projects and fundraisers and things like that. If you're looking for jobs, it can actually help boost your resume a little bit if you're volunteering. It's the opportunity to immerse yourself in a culture, and we're going to speak to that a little bit more in depth as we move on through this morning. It's an opportunity to improve community, and that means, again, they're at the local level. It also relates back to the communities, you know, for which you're representing and the clientele that you're assisting. It's giving back and paying it forward. It's utilizing that team approach to get things accomplished a little bit more efficiently and being a little bit more productive. And then from an individual perspective, it allows you to increase your knowledge and your skill set. And to kind of kick off today, I guess this is a good time to preface to everyone. We all know we got great things going on across the state, but for today, just to kind of make it easier, because I had reached out to a few agents and a few master gardeners across the state, and that was going to be a nightmare to try to get pictures and get those synthesized into one presentation. So for today's purposes, all the pictures are from the Big Spring Master Gardener Association group up in Greene County. So hopefully, you know, we're going to be learning more from each other as we move through this morning and then moving into 2020 with some of the leadership opportunities that we're going to have coming up, and, you know, putting some of those resources in a bank of sorts for y'all to draw on and share ideas, as well as some of the things I'm going to be sharing today, so we can all tap into one another as we move forward in the coming years. But I wanted to kick off today with one of our master gardeners. Miss Virginia passed away unexpectedly this year. She was a huge loss to our group. One of the reasons is because she has been a long-term member. She was in the second class that I trained here because our group is still fairly young. We just started in 2010. But Miss Virginia was a retired school teacher. She always had a good time, and you can see from this, she just thoroughly immersed herself into the Master Gardener program and was really instrumental in some of the projects that we have going on. And, you know, she was just always fun to be around. And that's kind of what today is all about, being able to maintain that volunteer spirit but have fun at the same time. Because, you know, when we look at a seesaw or a set of scales, if you have more than you have one or the other, it tends to kind of take away. You know, you always want to look at any kind of job you're doing, especially within the realm of volunteering, you know, here with Master Gardeners. You want to look at it as, you know, you get to be involved with this group instead of you having to go out and participate and do these volunteer hours. You know, it's something that everybody should look forward to, and that's a lot of times where the fun component comes into. You know, and I'm often asked with other groups that I'm involved with, you know, why is that so important? And I put three of the main components, I think, for fun, because it helps us build that foundation of trust among our peers. You know, when we're involved with the local association, you know, we're with each other quite a bit, working on projects. We've got those meetings. You know, we're working on fundraising events, state conferences, and all kinds of things like that. So there's that little element of vulnerability that each one of us has that we're sharing, and maybe sometimes don't even realize it, but we're building that foundation of trust when we're incorporating fun. It's increasing camaraderie amongst the group. And then probably the biggest there is demonstrating cohesion. You know, when you're a cohesive group, everybody outside of your local association is going to see that, and it makes other people want to be a part of that. You know, with stakeholders in your county, any kind of networking or partnership, you know, when you have that cohesive glue binding you together, it just kind of helps solidify what your association is all about. So to kind of kick off some of the fun components, I wanted to share with you again some pictures from the local group here in the county, and you're probably wondering what in the world are they doing. And this is actually not a Halloween party. This is actually what we do for our year-end celebration. Each year we have some kind of theme where everybody dresses up. We do activities, have a meal, do some fun things. Sometimes they get a little bit nervous of what I'm going to pull out of the hat next, but you can kind of see we just have a good time getting together. It's just fun when you can kind of put aside the hard work and focusing on, you know, sometimes the mission, and actually just kind of have fun with one another. So this is actually the same volunteer, just 2 different years. You can see she really puts a lot of effort into the creativity of the costuming. So everybody gets into it. There's a lot of dancing. See, I'm even an angel sometimes when I want to be. So y'all remember that. But just a lot of fun to be by the group. You can just kind of let your guard down. We even have the mayor come in and judge the costumes every year, and you can see there from him and his wife. They had a good time judging the costumes. So it's just a good way to kind of bring everybody in together when you're incorporating that element of fun. So here's just a question to think about. Look at this from an individual perspective as a Master Gardener volunteer, but also kind of apply it to your local association, and, you know, even bump that on up to some of the state activities that, you know, we're involved with. You know, is it all about earning hours? Is it just focusing on the work component all the time? And I'm throwing some pictures in here of the group here. It was a couple of new projects we got started at the Research and Education Center. There was a great deal of work. You can see from the pictures that went in to these projects. And there was a core group of about 3 of them that followed it through all the way into the hot summer months and spent a lot of time. You can see now what those blueberries look like with all that nut sedge, but they were out there manually pulling those weeds and everything. You know, it's just a lot of hard work. You know, were some of them having fun? Probably not at 6 a.m. picking vegetables and 93-degree temperatures in the middle of July. But, you know, later on, some of the other elements of fun that they incorporated, they did have a good time with it. But the main point is that you can't just focus on the work all the time. But on the flip side of that, are you or is your group just having a good time all the time? And, you know, there is a place for that, but if you're eating out all the time, going on adventures, going to wine tastings, riding in helicopters over the Nolichucky River and listening to bluegrass music all the time, you're probably not getting a lot of service hours accomplished and not really meeting the mission of the group. Now, again, there's a time and place for that, but if that's all we're focusing on, that's not going to be doing any of us any good at the end of the day. So, again, I'll pop this question up there and just get you to think about it moving through the next few slides. You know, is it all about just work or just fun, or are we actually combining those two, earning hours, working hard, and having a good time? And this is truly where we should be, because there should be an element of fun in everything that we are doing, because that's what keeps us coming back. So this is just an example of one of the things we incorporated in our intern training this year. So this is Kathy in the front actually doing a presentation. We had our interns draw a topic out of a hat, and they had to research the topic and then do a 15-minute presentation as part of their final to their peers. We didn't open this to the outside or anything. It was just master gardeners. But this was part of their final. They had to do this on their last day, and you know, it was a little bit of a element. It was a challenging, fun presentation for some of them. They learned a lot about an extra topic. They got to present to their peers, and it was just a good opportunity to share. Which brings another point in as coordinators at the local level, and I think most of us are doing that, but when we're doing the training, actually incorporating some hands-on elements, that keeps things lively, gets people out of their seats, and gets them socializing and learning a little bit more. Another good way to do this is part of our intern training here. Near one of the last days, we do what we call Project Share Day. And so Mary in the red shirt is one of our long-term volunteers, and standing around her is the intern class. So what we do is go around to all the existing projects and have those committee chairs be on hand to actually showcase the project, tell them how the project came into existence, kind of give the timeline and some of the current work that they're doing, and where they're looking to move that project forward into the future. And you see Beth here doing the same thing. She's at the Boys and Girls Club. She's showcasing this to the intern class. Again, all the elements of how that project came to be. So most of you probably are involved with pruning demonstrations and grafting seminars. And you can see there from the picture, this was a pruning demonstration in one year, and everybody's in short sleeves. And then the next year, we're bundled up in 50 layers of clothes, which is, I guess, kind of where we're all at today, because it's pretty cold up here in Northeast Tennessee this morning. But also another fun element is the beekeeping. Like, we have some beekeepers in our group, and we host some beekeeping basic classes on site at their locations. And again, it's just about learning knowledge from one another and then being able to take that knowledge and disseminate out to the general public. Again, increasing that element of fun. This is one of our current members, because the current membership drew out of the hat last December too. And so they've been presenting 15-minute presentations at the monthly meetings all year. So again, it's just researching that topic and being able to deliver it. And you can see how much fun our group kind of had with that. Some of the tools that they were using, some of them put on skits, and just had a good time with that. Okay, so this slide, if any of you were on the Zoom back in February when we talked about the leadership pipeline, I used a slide very similar to this, and I think it's very pertinent to apply that here as well, because when we're looking at all work and no play, what happens to us as an individual and as a local association, we have the tendency to become a little stagnant. We get a little stale, maybe that little, maintain the status quo. It kind of is the flip side of what I said earlier. Instead of getting to go out and be involved with these projects and activities, it's like, oh gosh, I have to get these hours, I have to have them turned in by this time. And it just almost becomes like a job. Whereas if we're incorporating those elements of fun in everything that we're doing, we're a little bit more energetic, which makes us a little bit more productive. We get more creative. We'll spend a little bit more time coming up with new solutions and resolutions to problems to be able to share with the clientele. It makes us more visible in the community. It makes us more viable as an organization, a more trusted source of information. It increases our sustainability long term. So, again, applying this mentality, the same old thinking yields the same old results. But if you are including that element of fun, again, there's that sense of vulnerability from an individual perspective, that you're all bringing something to the table, and everyone's kind of intertwining their experiences, their knowledge, skill set. Everybody's kind of working off each other's strengths, and it really does help strengthen the local associations when we're doing that. This slide is similar to one that I also used in February, but again, I think it's important to bring that up here. Again, we kind of talked about volunteering there at the very beginning, but why do you stay a member? Why do you stay a volunteer of the Master Gardener program? And for most of us, it's because we find it to be meaningful. It's providing opportunities, again, for us to share and to learn. You know, it's oftentimes going to be accessible at the local level. We have that skill set, and it's projects that are matter, that are, you know, have tentacles reaching out into the community, that are touching various other organizations as well. When people are not volunteering, when they're not staying with the group, often it's because they don't feel like they're a part of the group. They're not being asked personally to participate. They don't know about some of these opportunities, or maybe they just, from a personal perspective, don't think it's very meaningful. Or maybe it's lack of follow through, you know, from the local membership level. But to go back to that, why most are volunteering, and you notice money was on both of them, because, you know, we have a lot of opportunities within our local associations and state associations. You know, some of the things we're involved with require a little bit of money. Some require none. It just kind of depends
my face on the screen.
On the level of involvement where we're at. But again, you heard me say this earlier about immersion into a culture, and I think really when we get right down to it and we start boiling it down to the basics, it's about the creation of a culture up front. And this applies to, you know, we're about a 10-year-old group here, but this applies to 30-year-old groups or brand new groups that are just getting started. You know, we've got to create that culture where we're inclusive, not exclusive. You know, we've got to have mutual respect among our peers, amongst one another, because it's those internal environments that we're involved with that kind of determine the future direction of any organization, because we're all humans and it's all based on how we feel at the end of the day. So some of the photos you're going to see coming up next are one way that Greene County, we try to do that. This is our group in the spring. Back in May, we were going to the, let's see, where were we going? The Herb Fest over in Asheville. And we do that quite a bit. We're really close to Asheville, and so we'll go over there just for day trips. But we rent a van, we go over. Year before last, we took a shortcut on the way back home. We're still laughing about that because we had sustained some major head trauma from lack of helmets on that 20-mile gravel road, but that's a story for another day. But anyway, you can see Robin kind of rethinking her, you know, well, I don't know if I should be riding with this crazy girl, but you get together, you ride, you have a good time. Again, it's that element of vulnerability. You're getting to know one another, getting out, enjoying new experiences together, eating around the round table. And you know, like, not everybody is the same, right? We all got to respect one another. So like Glenn and Jane, I don't think they'll care if I share this, but they're raw vegan. So this is actually at a raw vegan restaurant in Asheville, you know, and so we all went and had lunch there, because it's, again, all about sharing experiences with one another. Our group will go camping and hiking, leaf looking, go exploring quite a bit. It's a pretty adventurous group. This was early on. We went touring in the Great Smokies of the North Carolina side. And you can just see pictures there, but we get out, we go find the elk. Here's a picture that was just happenstance. There was a few of us that got out, went hiking in North Georgia, and we already had the popcorn pop. They were passing it around in the truck, and we were driving along and happened up on Popcorn Overlook. Well, you know, there's a photo moment. I mean, some of those things are just too good not to pass up. So you got to have some of those fun moments incorporated into what you're doing. Our group will go a few times a year, like I said, and we'll do the campfire cooking. Some of you from West Tennessee may notice Stacy there from Henry County, and Iris, farm managed specialist from Montgomery County. They came and joined us. This is up at Roan Mountain. Did some hiking and told campfire stories, and some of those campfire stories turned into the purchase of a book the next day. So if anybody knows Iris in West Tennessee, next time you see her, ask her about the big toe. Again, it's all about having fun together. So here is Ron and Joe, two that were instrumental in the garden this year, and Lamanda is our FCS agent. So sometimes it's about intertwining those program areas as well. So we were providing some of the produce for canning workshops, and then got together and just did some canning. You see all the beans and cucumbers and tomatoes that we did for a few days. And then a couple of weeks ago, we had the Western Region Master Gardener Conference at Lone Oaks in Hardeman County. And these two brave souls decided to load up and travel with me, you know, the 25 hours it takes to go from East Tennessee to West Tennessee in that day, because I don't drive 4-lane roads, you know. So we were getting pretty hungry, and I about starved them to death, but we happened up on this little place in Grundy County. I don't know if I've got anybody on here from Grundy County, but we were sure appreciative of Brown's Dairy Bar on that long journey west a few weeks ago. On that same trip, again, it's all about making fun wherever you're at. So we'd seen all these cotton fields, and we called up a friend of mine, a colleague retired back in the spring from Crockett County, and we went out to the cotton fields and went, and we were very thirsty, had to go buy water, went to Real Foot and all the way to the Mississippi River. So it's all about taking advantage of those opportunities when they present themselves. And this is the same trip. You see Jenny there looking at Natalie like, well, she's just crazy. This was at Ames Plantation. You know, how many of us have got to see that, especially from the east side of the state? So that was just a good day to get out and have fun with one another. Same thing at the Eastern Region Conference in Townsend this year. There was a group, I think there were six in our group, rented a cabin, went down to the Smokies for a couple of days. This was last year. You're going to see master gardeners there from Fayette County, Cumberland County, Hamilton, and Greene County. We went to Monticello last year to the Heritage Harvest Fest, and just had fun exploring on that trip and getting to know each other from across the state. It was a small group, but we had a good time. And we typically go about every 3 years up there to that festival. This picture is just demonstrating, you see the young kids there. We try to include families and spouses in a lot of our activities here. And I know probably most of you are doing that, but we really wasn't trying to get run over by the train. It's just a unique location on French Broad that's here in Greene County, and we were just out there exploring it. But it's about including the family, so it becomes one huge family when you're involved with it for a long period of time. And again, it goes back to the people. When you can be silly and have fun and just interact with one another, that's what makes all the difference in the world. That's what's going to attract those new volunteers and get new members to join at the local level. And you know, you're going to have those days where you're working hard. You're going to have days where you're just having fun. But at the end of the day, it's about tying both of those elements all together and getting something accomplished. So before I start into the presentation, I've noticed a few agents that were on here. I know Greg was on here, and I think Alan was, Chris Cooper was on here. But anyway, I just wanted to share a few slides with you to tell you that, you know, it's not always just about you as volunteers. You know, your agents and your coordinators, they like to have a good time too. You know, we often struggle sometimes too with the balance and of fun and work, but we found that sometimes that's where a lot of our best ideas come from. You know, playing cards, going to concerts together. Celeste and I traveled to Little Rock last year for professional development. And, you know, we found our own fun to get into, you know, and do some learning. These are 3 of our newer agents in the state, and I just wanted to throw this picture in there to say, you know, wow, they're rock stars in their own right. They have so much to contribute to our local association and bringing their experiences in, great creativity. They've just got a lot to offer to growing the entire program, and we've got to really take advantage of that. And you see some of our agents, this was in Savannah at the Small Fruit Consortium, so we're always out learning and trying to bring more information back to y'all, but sometimes we get a little tuckered out too. You know, there's John Gunner from Fentress County taking a little nap. We like to interact and socialize, get out on the trail. Some of you know Natalie and I, Greg and Seth, you know, we enjoy being out in the woods, and we discovered a few years ago it's best to take a notepad with us, because a lot of the ideas that y'all have, some of the things that we've incorporated in the state program in the last few years have come from the backwoods on a hiking trail or in the middle of a mountain stream 10 miles from the middle of nowhere. But it's those things that kind of keeps our creativity flowing. And a lot of you know that each year in December, our work groups get together that first week of December, and we're busy planning for the next year. So we try to include that element of fun, but here we are hard at work. And Greg's going to kill me for this. But anyway, we celebrate one another. His birthday's typically about that time of year, and there's not like 80 candles to put in this crock pot chocolate cake, and you can see it's about to blow up in his face already. So I'm telling his age there. Sorry, Greg. But we like to have fun with one another. We'll drive 200 miles out of our way to go find Tennessee Pass when we're in Colorado just to take a picture to bring back and showcase some of these things. When we're in Utah, there's Stefanski. He found some weird plant. We're always learning and figuring out how we can bring that back to you. We've got to have a good time too, to be fresh, to lead our programs. And I didn't want to put this picture up there because you notice I came in last, but I wanted to put this in there so y'all would see that Natalie's a pretty good bowler. She beat us all that day. So don't make her mad that she is ever going to want to throw a bowling ball at you. And sometimes when you're out and about and you're taking pictures, you just accidentally snap the perfect video shot, and you just laugh so hard you just feel like you got to share that with everybody. So this is a good time to do that. Again, it's all about having a good time. There's some backstories to this, but you'll notice we're at a Kentucky football game dressed in our blue and orange. I still haven't been fully forgiven for that, but you'll notice there a pretty wide representation of networking going on there, and that's what we're doing even in our off time. I don't know who snapped this picture or what we were looking at, but again, it's one of those pictures you gotta share just to show that we do have a good time. And Natalie will probably kill me for this, but again, it's just to illustrate we as agents, we have a good time. We have a good relationship with one another. We can pick on each other. We can have a good time, but we work hard at the same time. And it's all about achieving balance. And that's what we all have to be working toward every day in our volunteer efforts. Some of you have seen this slide as well. It's just talking about valuing our volunteers, recognizing and honoring accomplishments individually and from the program and project perspective. Many of you across the state have been recipients of the Search for Excellence Awards. Our Boys and Girls Club cemetery here in the county recipients of that, and have gone on to win them some volunteer spirit awards at local level too. And then it's like our youth programs, oftentimes volunteers that is reward enough getting to see those smiling faces, teaching them all about horticulture, learning how to cook fresh produce. I mean, they're just having a good time with that. And the same thing when you flip a 360 with our elderly audiences, helping them put together holiday wreaths. Again, sometimes that's a huge reward to those of us that are volunteering. Again, one of those Search for Excellence, one of our projects here was the New Hope Cemetery. This is actually a pretty good picture. Before this picture was taken, you couldn't even tell it was a cemetery. And dedication and hard work, that's what it looks like now.
Up there, and I knew nothing about
pretty cool to see that. And then we're involving the local university. This is Tusculum College students that come out and do some work in the cemetery, have a good day with that. We have a veterans service in the New Hope. So you're recognizing those individuals in the community. Then again, on the individual basis, recognizing your interns when they reach certification, doing a big party for them, really recognizing their hard work and accomplishments. Doing some individual awards to recognize, the individual contributions. And I just put some pictures in here to kind of show how we do that in Greene County. We even have our list of honorary master gardeners there. And you can see some of those awards that we do here in the county: Outstanding Educator, Spirit Awards, Art in the Garden, Foundation, Club Service, Community Service, Green Thumb, and then our Intern Service Awards. And then we go ahead and share that with our local county commission too, to show the impact that the group is created throughout the year. But our group will do some little competitions throughout the year at some of the events as well. We haven't done this as often in the last few years, but it just garners a little bit more participation from the members to get involved with some of our outreach efforts, because it is all about diversifying that educational experience. But you don't want to just be going into a classroom. You want to make it fun and the continuing ed for you as volunteers. Sometimes we don't necessarily have to always confine that to horticulture. This was a few years ago when we went to Monticello, and I took them by a homestead creamery in Burke Chimney, Virginia. It truly is the best ice cream you all will ever eat if you ever have the opportunity to try it. But this is an old-fashioned creamery where they still deliver the milk in the glass bottles to the home. So it's kind of a cool setup, and so we went through and toured the dairy and the creamery on that trip. We usually on that same trip will stop at the Harvest Table, which is a restaurant in Virginia owned by Barbara Kingsolver. And they really promote local artisans in this Farmers Guild there. Also get our group involved with some extracurriculars, and we are training. This was a glass blowing place in Charlottesville that they all got to create their own glass piece of art. I can't remember what the name of that place was called. But while they're out and about, our group goes to like Mother Earth News Fair. They get to meet some pretty cool people. But it's also about knowing your individual master gardeners and what maybe some of their other hobbies are. Bev is a master gardener, but she's also a woodworker. So, she made some beautiful birdhouses that we put in one of our projects, and you see the teamwork that goes into that. Another fun element that we would really encourage you to do, you're going to hear us talking more about this in 2020. But when our group first started, we didn't really know which direction to go. So I called Tom Stebbins up, and he chatted with his Master Gardener volunteers, and we went down and hung out with them for a day or two. Actually, I think it was 2 days, just touring all their community gardens, seeing what they were doing and how we could apply it here. But at the same time, we got into a little trouble in downtown Chattanooga too. Sometimes you just gotta have fun. Again, this is our group going to Crossville. Greg and Walt Hitch, the center director there, and all of Greg's Master Gardeners hosted us more than once. I think we've been down there 3 times because we were trying to get something similar to that here in Greene County. So they were very welcoming, spent a lot of time sharing how they got their garden started there, some great ideas, and a lot of that we have utilized. We've implemented right here in Greene County as we've been moving into our partnership with the research center here. So certainly couldn't have done that without them. So it's all about that partnership network, and realizing again that all of our 40-some associations across the state we all got strengths in some areas. We've all got certain projects that we're maybe a little bit more proficient in than other counties. But at the end of the day, it's about sharing and synthesizing all that information, so we can each take that back to our own counties and maybe replicate that or create our own model moving forward. And that just helps continually grow our local associations as well as the statewide program. And one of the last points I wanted to talk about was the communication and promotion of our local groups. Sometimes this is where some of our associations will fail a little bit in this endeavor, but if you include the fun element, it kind of takes some of the work out of it. So here's our group hosting a fall open house last year, trying to recruit new members, and food always brings people in. This was early on at the farmers market. I know several of you are probably doing that, but just setting up booths. We've migrated now to where we're even selling produce out of our own trial garden to be able to help grow that project. We partner with the Farm Bureau and Research Center and our partnership here or the Chamber of Commerce here to host Kids Day. We've been doing that ever since the implementation of the program here, and it's just huge. Again, working with the youth to be able to share with them where their food comes from, what goes into making their food, what's involved, and the whys and the hows. And you get a lot of those kids asking questions and seeing things they may otherwise not have known a lot about. Another fun component is we do a farm to fork about every year, a fundraiser for the local soup kitchen. And you get together and have local food, and some of that food you've grown yourself in your community gardens, and have some music. You get everybody up singing and joining in the fun. Have a pretty venue to have that event. And yeah, but behind the scenes, there's a lot of work that goes on to that. But then when you look out and see everybody having a good time, that makes all the efforts worthwhile. And we've done a couple of these in Greene County, done some silent auctions and photography sales and things like that. We've now migrated up to what we call the Empty Bowl fundraiser, because we have a master gardener that is a potter as well. So this is one of the things that we do to raise money at the local soup kitchen. And through that involvement, it's opened up doors for us to be involved with other projects, like the local schools and planting trees and small fruits as a partnership with them. Another great outreach effort that our group gets involved with here each year is the local Christmas parade. They hand out, instead of candy, they hand out packs of seeds with our logo on them. And they really get into this. You see there, we were Civic Division first place. We usually do place each year. It's just something fun for the group to get together and promote the local group. Sometimes we'll have the kids from the Boys and Girls Club joining the fun with that as well. It's about getting out and going to the state and regional conferences. It's a great bonding opportunity when you're traveling together. This was in Townsend this past spring. You have opportunities to see things you might not otherwise get to, like we toured the Blackberry Farm. Not only that, but sometimes you'll have the opportunity to present on your projects at some of those conferences. So this was a few years back in Knoxville. I think Sevier County hosted that. A couple of our master gardeners were presenting on the Boys and Girls Club. And you can see here from the looks on their faces, they're learning lots and trying to digest a bunch of knowledge. So we had Andrea Ludwig come up and do a rain garden demonstration. They started out in the classroom and ended up outside at the end of the day. And, this has been a great partnership. And again, here's another partnership effort with the local county fairgrounds. You have to get creative sometimes, because when you start out as a young group, you don't always have a lot of money. So you do some bartering. So we decided we would landscape and manage the beds here at the main entrance of the Greene County Fairgrounds in exchange for utilizing the buildings for a couple of the events we had free of charge. So I don't have a picture of what that looks like now, because this was several years ago, but that is one of our projects, is that we maintain that. And we also take in entries at the fair each year, and we judge. We've got some master gardeners that really enjoy judging the baked goods, judging some of the 4-H activities. We've had barbecue on premise before in the past, actually cooking on site. And again, just having a good time judging and taking in entries. And that's just a great partnership again. And of course, I kind of saved this for last, because we all are doing plant sales in some fashion, I think, across the state. So we all know how much work goes into that, and it takes a huge amount of time and effort on everyone's part to get that off the ground and get that going. In our group here, we start, from a team perspective, even deciding what plants to grow, all the way up to the transplanting and watering in the greenhouse and all that. And again, I mean, it's a good bonding experience, and then following that all the way through to the actual day or plant sale, or days, however you're doing that. And sometimes all you can do is just laugh. You work for hours and hours, put a lot of hard work into it, and things might be going wrong the day of or the day before during setup, but really, instead of getting upset and angry, you just gotta laugh. You just gotta have a good time, because at the end of the day, it's all about dispersing information and creating that knowledge and sharing with people. And you can see how some of that is transpiring here. Again, today we've talked a lot about evaluating ourselves from an individual perspective on some of these concepts, but we don't want to forget the teamwork component, because you'll see that quote there. I like that. Unity is strength, and when there is teamwork and collaboration, wonderful things can be achieved. And I fully believe that. And I like this little quote here. I have this actually hanging in here in my office. I think that's something we all need to remember. When we approach it from a team effort, we get so much more done. And I'll take that back to our state leadership teams with the Master Gardener, with your agents working on that, you know, and if it was all up to Natalie to do it herself, we all know how intelligent and how smart she is, but, you know, lack of time would really prevent a lot of things from getting done. So, you know, when you start incorporating ideas from other agents and getting them on board and kind of delegating some of those tasks, a lot more can get accomplished. So just remembering that too at the local level, getting to know your members, especially if you're in a leadership position or managing the membership, knowing those new members and where their strengths lie and how they can take their skill set and help further promote and grow the local organization. I mean, it goes back to this project we started this spring. You know, we started with a blank canvas, so to speak, you know, just bare ground, and ended up putting those blueberry trials in. But we couldn't have done it without everybody coming together to do that. But then you got to have fun. I think they're all telling me to kiss their butts here. I'm not really sure. I think they'd had enough of me that day. But you see, it's all about, again, having a good time. Some of our fundraisers, you know, it don't just happen. There's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes, the prep, all the service that you're doing before here. You see the trio here. They work countless hours before that fundraising event to get the gardens ready for people to come in and see those. And kind of put these pictures in here because this was our first partnership. It was that first group of 10 Master Gardeners in Greene County that went out, kind of beat the bushes to figure out where we could get a foothold in the community, and started at the local museum, and, you know, all pitched in, worked together. Everybody kind of integrated their own systems to doing things, put their own little mark on the landscape, and that's kind of cool. We don't manage that project anymore, but there's a beautiful landscape down there on Main Street in Greenville, and that, you know, that first 10, 20 Master Gardeners kind of left their stamp there. So even years later, they're seeing what little part they had to play in that. One of the things I do want to leave you with today is just remembering to laugh, you know, not only at yourself, but laughing with one another. And the more that you can do that, oh my Lord, you're gonna, you know, I'm a very serious individual. Most of the time, stay pretty focused, and I like to work. You know, that's just my personality. But I have discovered over the last 10 years, you know, sometimes you just gotta let go and have a good time, and really learn to laugh at yourself and laugh with one another. You know, I've started kind of pawning that off on my group, and you can see from some of these pictures, some of them don't really like that, but, you know, look at the other two. They're having a good time wrapping her up in toilet paper to where she can't move. And if anybody wants to know what we were doing here, you just feel free to give me a call, and I'll share. But this was one of the team building things we done with a couple of our classes. But and from Richard the Elder, you know, this is our scarecrow at the local soup kitchen. You know, I don't, but the group up there changes his attire every month, which is kind of cool. There's buy-in from everyone working on that project. But again, what I want to leave you with today is just remember to laugh, just to have a good time, because when your group can have fun together, they're going to stay together. You're going to continue growing the local organization. You're going to grow individually as a volunteer, and that's in turn going to help us grow the state association. And I think most of you would agree that we've really seen our program grow from a statewide perspective here in the last several years, and getting a lot more folks involved at every level with that. So I'm going to wind up with that. I'm not even sure what time it is. Where am I? 11:45. So, oh, there's Natalie. So I know she had some updates and announcements. I will leave you with this, though. If you have questions or comments about today, feel free to pass those along to me. And like I say, we'll start building a bank of all these resources that we can all share with one another. Some of the things I've shared today, because that's what it's all about, growing one another. So